important events in our country's history was Apollo 11. Apollo 11 was a space flight that landed the first humans on the moon. It took place during the Cold War and was a race against the Soviets. Beating Russia in the space race inspired the people of the United States and was a big technological advancement. Most people who were alive at the time remember where they were and what they were doing when the first person set foot on the moon. Today I'm going to talk to you about the events of Apollo 11. So the first event of Apollo 11 was the space race, and here's a map of what the space race looked like. It was a US and Soviet competition, and it took place in the 1950s. The Soviet Union was ahead at the time and launched the first artificial satellite, which was Sputnik 1. Here's Sputnik 1. They unfortunately put the first humans in space, but that fulfilled Kennedy's dream by putting man on the moon at the end of the 1960s. President Kennedy's dream was put into action, but it took a lot of work to get to the moon by his deadline. After several years, we were ready to start the mission. So first was a launch for the U.S., and they launched the Saturn V rocket into which was the Apollo spacecraft from the Kennedy Space Center into Merritt Island, Florida, on July 16, 1969. And people who were operating this were these astronauts, which were Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. Neil Armstrong was a mission commander, Buzz Aldrin was a pilot of the lunar module, and Michael Collins was the pilot of the command module. And those are the three parts to the rocket. And during this time, they had been traveling for 3 days. The whole world was watching to see what was going to happen with the astronauts. Nothing like this had ever happened or been watched by a big audience. So Armstrong and Aldrin landed the lunar module Eagle on the moon, or the Sea of Tranquility, on July 20th, 1969. It was broadcasted live on TV and watched by 600 million people. And this is where Armstrong said, "One small step, one giant leap for mankind," and here's where they filmed him walking on the moon. These effects, they stayed on the moon for 24 hours, and they landed safely in the Pacific Ocean on July 24th, 1969. These effects led to many changes for the U.S., and the mission sparked a massive growth in science and technology in our country. The effects were: the U.S. won the space race, it fulfilled Kennedy's national goal, it inspired many additional space travel, and laid the groundwork for other technological advancements. These effects led to many changes for the U.S., and it sparked a massive growth in science and technology for our country. The Apollo 11 mission was a great success for the U.S. It was a victory during the Cold War against the USSR. Since Apollo 11, there have been many more missions to space, but this one had to be the most exciting. It was most definitely a giant leap for mankind. This mission was a great example of what the U.S. can do when we have a national goal and everyone works hard to achieve it.